Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, we're looking at Psalm 56. We need to remember as we begin to look at Psalm 56 that the Psalms are not in the historical order in which they took place. Psalm 55 took place later in David's life when he had been king for quite some time. Maybe he's even getting in his old age, it appears. And Absalom, his son, tried to take over his kingdom. Now, Psalm 56 takes place at the beginning of his time that he was fleeing from King Saul. And he actually, at this point, was by himself. You go back to 1 Samuel chapter 21, and also Psalm 34 was written probably about this time. Some other Psalms are connected to this time when David was fleeing from Saul for his life. Saul had become jealous after David had killed Goliath, and he tried to kill David at least on 3 occasions, and David flees for his life. Here he's fleeing again, and you remember he went first up to Moab, up on the top of the Mount of Olives, and there he actually then went to Nob, where he asked Ahimelech, the priest, to give him some bread, and he got the sword of Goliath. And then he was alone, it says, and he fled by himself, and he went to the king Achish of Gath. Now, Gath is the hometown of Goliath. Now, why in the world David would go to Gath, the home of Goliath that he had slain, the place where his brothers no doubt lived? He had 5 brothers or 4 brothers that we know of, and there David would be in great danger, but David felt the danger there was not as great as the danger from Saul. And so we see David in the midst of a time of fear and faith. And probably if I had a title for this chat, it would be called Fear or Faith. What do we do when we come under tremendous duress? Now, apparently, David made a bad decision to go to the Philistines. Matter of fact, the title of the psalm tells us, "To the chief musician, set to the silent dove in distant lands, a Michtam of David when the Philistines captured him in Gath." So it appears he gets captured there by these Philistines. He might be put in a cell or a prison of some sort, and they're trying to decide what to do with him. David is thinking he's going to find maybe a refuge there, and he finds just the opposite. He definitely wasn't doing the will of God at this point when he went in that direction. And so he writes this psalm maybe while he's inside this cell. The Philistines are outside the door of his cell determining to take his life, and David writes, "Be merciful to me, O God, for man would swallow me up. Fighting all day, he oppresses me. My enemies would hound me all day, for there are many who fight against me, O Most High. Whenever I'm afraid, I will put my trust in you. In God, I will praise his word. In God, I have put my trust. I will not fear. What can flesh do to me?" Now, you have to just picture this. David has been captured. He's in a cell. The Philistines, they have now this man who killed their champion, their Goliath. They're making fun. They're mocking. They're talking about how they're going to kill him and how they're going to torture him. And David is in tremendous distress and despair. But what does he do? He does what he always does. He cries out to God. Man, have you ever been in a hopeless, helpless, total time of despair, maybe even depression, have no way out? What do? You do what David did. He says, "What time I'm afraid, I will put my trust in you." What time I'm afraid, the fear, the doubt, the overwhelming fear is a great time to be reminded, I'm going to trust in God. What else can I do? Matter of fact, he repeats these same words down in verses 10 and 11. In God, I will praise his word. In the Lord, I will praise his word. In God, I have put my trust. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? Why? Because God had told David he's going to be the next king. He had the promise of God. And my friend, we have the promises of God in his word to believe that no matter what situation we're in, God will bring us deliverance. What time I'm afraid, I will put my trust in you. God bless as you meditate on this psalm with us. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.